Hi guys, as promised, here's your Photoshop tutorial on how to do web banners where you want to blend images together and you want to draw borders and stuff like that. So you can see that what I've got is I've got Photoshop open here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new document. So I'm going to click New Document. You can click there, or if you've not got this screen here, you can go up to the File menu, you can hit New, or if you're into your keyboard shortcuts, you can hit Command N, any way you choose. First thing, it's highlighted up at the top, it says Untitled 1. Don't want it to be called Untitled 1. This is a web banner that I'm creating, so I'm going to type in web banner there. What do I want? Type of document. Well, type of document, you can pick web, print, whatever the hell you like. Yeah? Or alternatively, you don't want to use those presets. What you can do is you can manually key stuff in. So manually key stuff in, note that I'm on pixels here because we're doing it for screen. So I'm going to make this 1000 pixels wide. Hitting tab there to get into the next field, 1000 pixels tall. A resolution of 72 pixels per inch because I'm doing it for screen. Color mode RGB, 8-bit, typical computer display. Background color, do I want a background color on it? Do I want it transparent? Do I want a white background, black background, or do I want to pick another color? Well, in this case, I'll have a white background just because I can. Last but not least, on this advanced tab down here, there's a couple of things that I can pick. The color profile, you should be already on this if you've gone to your edit menu and you've done your color settings there and put it on something like European General Purpose 3 or what have you. But if you haven't done that, you can cherry pick which color profile you want. And the one that you want for most web stuff is sRGB IEC 6/1966-21. So that's on the drop away there. That is a typical PC monitor profile. And when I say PC, I mean personal computer, not IBM PCs. So it includes Macs and it includes things like iPads and all of those things like Microsoft Surface and most mobile phones. Most of them have got this profile on there. So if you put that profile on your document, it means that when they view it on their device, they're going to be seeing more or less the same colors. So it's a good way to get accurate colors. The other thing that I want is I want pixel aspect ratio, square pixels, because we're not shooting movie footage through an anamorphic lens or anything like that. So square pixels is the one that we want. Now if I'm happy with all that, what I can do is I can hit save preset, and then I'd be able to load that again if I wanted to. But in this occasion, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit OK, because it's just a tutorial. So there we go, OK. So there comes my new document. You can see there, white background layer. The background layer is locked at the minute. If you ever want to move something on the background, you can always click on the little padlock there and unlock it. It's not really going to matter too much on this occasion because we're going to be bringing stuff in. But if you ever do want to do that, you can turn that into layer 0. Obviously, what you can do is you can name your layers as well by double clicking on them. So I can go background like that, call it whatever I want. As you know, not a bad idea to name your layers. Things can get complicated. You don't want a copy of layer 5 and all this kind of stuff going on. You want to make things easily understandable, because don't forget, you could be a work colleague taking over something if you take the day off or what have you, so it's helpful to name your layers. Just good practice. So, File, Open, Command O if you prefer. Could place this as well if I wanted to. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and get that thing there. Badger. It's a PNG file, so if there were transparent bits on it, it would be a transparent background. It's not really going to matter in this. So there we go. In that comes. Now, I want to select all of this, and then I want to copy it and I want to paste it onto my web banner. So I can either hit Command A or I can go Select All. Probably the easiest ways to get it. You see we get a little marching ants bounding box around there. So now if I go Edit, Copy, or Command C if you prefer, like that, then what I can do is I can click on my web banner on the tab there and I can go and paste that. Edit, Command V, or Paste, like that, and in it comes. Now it's coming a bit smaller. I'm not too worried about that because this is a tutorial. It means that I can get away with scaling this. It's not always a great idea to scale things up because they can look a little bit ropey, but in this occasion it won't matter that much. So I want to scale it. To scale it, what you need to do is you need to transform it. So you need to either go Edit, Transform, and then you've got the flyout menu there. You can see there aren't actually any keyboard shortcuts listed alongside there, but there are R&D keyboard shortcuts for it. And the quickest way to get Transform up is simply to hold down the Command key and hit T. That'll give you the control handles. Now, the control handles, you can see there that what I would be able to do is I'd be able to rotate this, or I can scale it. But if I scale it, you can see it's going out of proportion unless I hold down the Shift key, in which case it will scale it in proportion. So I'm going to scale that thing up, grab hold of it like that, Now, if I'm happy with what I've scaled it to, I can move that thing around as well. What I need to do is I need to OK the transformation. You can either do that by hitting return, or what you can do is you can click this little button up on the top there to confirm your changes. So you can see there, commit, transform, enter, like that. There it goes, control handles disappear. If you don't do that, it's still waiting for you to OK the transform. So what then happens is you can't click on any other tools or select anything because it's still waiting for you to OK it. So it's important to remember that. So now I've got layer 1 there. Can rename it if I want to. We'll just call that Badger, like that. So what we want is we want to learn how to blend one image into another one. So I'm going to bring in another image. So we go File, Open, like that. And let's go and get something different. So let's see, we'll go and get that. There's a picture of an aeroplane. So we've got that thing there. Now I'm going to select all of this as well. So we go select all, like that. Get the little bounding box around it. I'm going to copy that, Command C, or you can go to the edit menu, make sure I've got the thing copied. Then I'm going to click on my web banner there, and then I'm going to paste it, Command V. So in that comes over there. Now it comes in on a layer above it. At this point, I could go on the move tool there, and I could move that. So I'll get it there so it just kind of looks a little bit more dramatic. So we've got that. So now what we've got is that thing there, and I can call that, Flying Fortress or Plane or whatever, B-17, whatever, like that. Boom. So we've got that layer there, and that layer sitting above that one. So when you make that invisible, you can see the layer below. And when you make that one invisible, because that one's still visible, you're not seeing it, but if you make them both invisible, you can see that. So we've got a hierarchy of layers there. Now to blend this image into that, what I need to do is I need to make that partially transparent. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to do that in a destructive way. So I don't want to go on the eraser tool and start rubbing bits out. I want something that I can play about with. Now how we do that is we add a layer mask. Now you'll remember that a layer mask adds an additional channel. So at the moment when we look on the channels palette, all we've got is red, green and blue colours that are making up this image. And the same is true of that if we look on the channel there. It's red, green and blue colours there. But if I add an additional channel, an alpha channel, what I can do is I can chain link that alpha channel to this layer here. And on the alpha channel, anything that's black will be transparent, anything that's white will be opaque, and any of the 256 shades between full-on black and full-on white will be varying degrees of transparency, so you can put a gradient on things and fade them gently. Now, to get a layer mask, what you need to do is you need to make sure that you've got that layer selected, the uppermost layer, because we want to blend this one with that. And don't forget that what we could do is you can change the order of the layers by dragging them about, but I've got the upper layer selected there. So I'm going to go to this, the third icon here, and you can see that that is Add Layer Mask. We click on that. That adds a layer mask. It is already selected. We can see that if we look on the channel panel. There you go. It's got the layer mask selected there. If you click on this, it selects the image, so you can see on there that we've got that like we had before. So to use the layer mask, the alpha channel, make sure that the boundary box is around that thing there, because if not, if you've got it around that, you're going to be painting on the image, you're going to be destroying the image, whereas with that, you're going to be painting on the alpha channel. Now, as I say, anything that's black will appear as transparent when you've painted on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get the brush tool there. You can use Command B if you want, but note that all of the brush tools have that Command B on there. So it's probably worth checking to make sure that you actually are on the brush tool there. You see, I've got quite a big brush there. Don't forget that you can use the left square bracket key to make your brush smaller and the right square bracket key to make it bigger. You can also come up here, just underneath where it says Photoshop, you can click on the little drop away reveal triangle there, and you can resize your brushes there. I'm looking here because I want a soft edge brush, because that's going to help me feather things in. You'll get very, very hard edge transparent stuff if you paint with one of these hard edge brushes. So I'm going to pick one of the soft edge brushes there. I could resize it there if I wanted to. Now when you click on this thing, this menu doesn't disappear, this little drop away menu. So the way to get that to disappear, and any other menus that do that kind of thing in Photoshop, is just click off up here somewhere and you'll see that that disappears. So now what I've got is I've got a brush with a soft edge on it. Now the other thing I need to check is, am I painting in black and white? Because I could have colours in here, you know, I could have this kind of thing going on, like that. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I've got black and white in here, in my foreground and background colours. The easiest way to do that is to hit D for default colours on your keyboard, and you'll see that what that does is it gives you a black and white in there. But what it does is it might give you the white at the front and the black at the back, and so you'd be painting in white and erasing to black. I don't want that. I want them the other way around. So there's a keyboard shortcut for it, which is X, where you can flip them, or you can flip them clicking on this thing here. So you can go default colours there, and you can flip it like that. If you prefer to use the keyboard shortcuts, it's D and X. If you want to do it mouse clicking, it's that thing there. So I'm painting in black. Got a brush, it's got a soft edge on it. So I'm going to check up here, I'm painting in normal mode, you can see up there, and my opacity and flow are both on 100%. You can play around with that if you want to, but normally you'd want them on that. So here we go, just checking over here that I am painting on the layer mask, and so there we go, I paint on black there, like that. What that is doing is, that is making that part of the layer mask there, if you look on the layers panel, that part of the layer mask is making that transparent because it's black, and subsequently we can see through this layer to the layer that is below. Yeah, so that's why we're seeing that badger thing there. If I decide that I've done that horribly wrong, it's very easy for me to sort out. I can just flip the colours, paint in white. So I'm painting in white on this layer mask now, so there we go, and that repairs it. So you can, that's why you're doing it like that. You're not damaging the image. It's very easy to repair things. Flip that, so I'm painting in black, make my brush a bit smaller, and do this kind of thing. So just write Al on there. You can see that what I'm getting is I'm getting transparency. So all of this kind of thing, you know, make it transparent where you want. And with a bit of effort, what you can do is paint white and it repairs it. Make my brush bigger with the right square bracket key, and it's a very, very quick repair. So with a bit of effort, you can do this kind of thing. So I'm back on painting in black, like that, and you can see that what I'm doing is I'm rubbing that out. It's got a bit of a soft edge brush. I'm not going to spend ages doing this, but you can see there that it's fairly easy to sort of blend up to things like that. So you can see that I can do this kind of thing and make that transparent there. So there you go. And if we look on the layer mask there, you can see why those parts are transparent. Excuse me. So that's how you're doing that kind of thing. Now, the other bit that we wanted to do was we wanted to learn how to put borders and lines on things. Now, to do that, probably the easiest way to do it is to use these tools here. Rectangle tool, rounded rectangle tool, these things here. And the rectangle tool is probably the easiest way to do lines and borders and stuff like that. So I'm going to use that. Now, I click on this thing here, but I want to check a few things just before I start drawing. First thing I want to check is what is it drawing and what colours is it going to draw. So I'm looking on the control panel across the top there and checking here to see if it's doing pixels, path, or shape. Now, if I want to create a new layer with a shape on it, which I do for the border, because obviously if we put things on different layers, we can turn them off. It's the most flexibility. So normally you're going to want that on shape there. Now, what I can do is I can choose what colour it's going to have as a fill, and if it's going to have a stroke, if it's going to have a border on it, and if it is going to have a border on it, what kind of border is it going to have? So there's all kinds of different styles. So let's have a pink fill on the thing there, like that. I'm clicking here, and I don't want a border on it, so I'm going to click this thing here, this little prohibition symbol, no colour there. So it doesn't matter that there is a border weight in there of 5.01 millimeters, because it isn't going to put a border on it, so there could be any value in there, it isn't going to matter. So now I've got those things there, I'm going to draw with this thing, so here we go. Click and drag, like that. Boom, and it creates a shape layer. Now notice that what it did was it created a shape layer above the layer that I had selected. Because I had this layer selected here, it drew it above. If I had done this, so throw that layer away, if I had my badger layer selected and I drew that shape layer, it's going to create it above there. So we can't see it because this layer is above. Now that's not a problem, we can move that layer above, but just be aware that anytime you create a new layer of any sort, paste something in or what have you, it does it above the layer you've got selected at the time. Now, you can see on here that what we've got is that it's a shape, But the moment you draw a shape, this thing should appear. The properties panel swings out from there. Boom. You can see the icon for it there. It's like cubes and little blips and stuff like that. Now, if you are not seeing that, if, for example, you haven't got that icon there, you can go and get the properties panel by going to the window menu, and you can go down to where it says properties. Sure enough, that puts that thing back. If you wanted to glue it back on there, you could do. You could go and put it there like that, so you can see that thing's back on there. Now, with the properties panel and that layer selected there, what I'm able to do is I'm able to rejig and resize this. So you can see on there that I've got a width of 1295 pixels, but I can highlight that, type in whatever the hell I want. So let's type in 444. So we hit return. So now that panel is only 444 pixels wide. Let's change the height of it as well. I'll make that 200 pixels. 200, like that. Just a little bit smaller. You can play around with these things. Note that what you are able to do is you're able to chain link that by clicking this icon here, so that when this thing goes bigger, that thing will go bigger in proportion to it. So if I go make that 222 and hit return, you're going to see that proportionally that goes to 100 because I made that half the width, so it went to half the height that's on there. Now, you can also change these values by clicking in there and hitting the up and down mouse arrow. So not the up and down mouse arrows, the up and down keyboard arrows, yeah, and the little cursor arrows. So I'm hitting the up arrow there, and if you look, you can see that width value is changing. It's doing it very, very slowly, so very often it's easier to just type a number in, but you can do it like that if you want to. Now, the other thing I've got going on out here is the X and Y positions of where things are. So you can see there that it says minus 143 pixels for the X position, because the X position is left and right, and the Y position is up and down. So that thing is minus 43, and you can see there, that's what it's indicating. It is 143 pixels off the left-hand edge of it. I want that to start 10 pixels in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 10px in there. So we go 10px and hit return. Boom, like that. That border box, whatever you want to call it, is now 10 pixels in. If I want to be really super accurate with this, let's say I want this thing 25 pixels off the top, I can go in there, I can type 25 in there. Boom. Now I know for sure that this thing's 25 pixels down and 10 pixels in. Now you don't have to move things like that if you don't want to. What you can do is you can go here and over on the toolbar, there are two arrows there. There's the path selection tool and the direct selection tool. Most of the time you're going to want the path selection tool, that's the solid black arrow there. And you can click on this thing and move it around manually if you want to. You are also able to do this, click off, and then what you can do is click back on. So if you've got more than one of these selected or it's not selected, you can click on the thing and move it around. You're also able to directly select one of those corners on there. So you can see that we can do that in a number of ways. We can do it with this thing here. So what I'm able to do is I'm able to type something in here, like that, so you can see there, 22, and I hit return like that, and you can see that it's changed the radius corners, but it's put radius corners on all four corners because the chain link is on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlink that, and I'm going to put 0 pixels there, so I get that going on, and I'm going to put 0 pixels there. So now what I've got is I've got a radius corner on the top left of it and a radius corner on the bottom right of it, but I've got squares on there. So you can play around with this stuff if you really, really want to. Now let's say I actually wanted a border on the thing. I can click up there, change the border colour, so I'm going to put a green border on the thing. And now this 5.01 millimeters is starting to come into play. I can click the reveal triangle there and use a slider to make that bigger or smaller. Or if I prefer, I can highlight this thing here and type in a value. I could make that a dotted border if I wanted to, or like that, back on a solid border. So you got a lot of flexibility with what you can do, and this is why you want to go about things in this way. Now, you can also use the direct path selection tool there, or sorry, direct selection tool. What that will let you do is that will let you select an individual point on the thing. Now it's kind of difficult to see at this screen resolution, but what I'm doing is that when I click on one of these points, it's fully selecting that point and leaving all the other points partially selected. So now what I will be able to do is I'll be able to move that thing individually. Now you should be aware that when you do this, you are going to get a little alert coming up that says this operation will turn a live shape into a regular path. Do you want to continue? So it's no longer a live shape, and because it's not a live shape, it's gonna knock off all of these, the ability to change this sort of thing. So if you hit yes like that, you're only going to have a few options on there. You're going to see feather, where you can feather the edge of it, and density there, where you can play around with how dense the layer is. Not going to see many more options than that. If you change your mind, oops, I still want that to be editable or whatever, you know, what you can always do is you can always hit Command Z, or you can go to the edit menu, you can hit step backwards like that. Might need to do it a couple of times. So if you have to hit step backwards a few times, note that what that is Command Alt Z. So I have to do it 3 times. So you can hold down the Command key, you can hit Z, it will undo the last thing that you did. But if you hit Command Z again, it will redo the thing that you just undid. So if you want to keep undoing, it's Command Alt and Z. So there you go. So that's how you do borders, and that's how you blend images together. If you've got any questions, give me a bell or fire me an email, guys. Have fun with it. Bye.